All right, let's get this. Hey guys, welcome to the Sneaker Laundry. Today, we're gonna show you how to install sole protectors. So to begin with, you always gotta check, is your shoe brand new or is it used? In this case, it is lightly used. So the simple solution for us, we always say, is just to give your bottoms a quick clean. They do have alcohol pads in here, but if your shoe's been lightly used, I always recommend cleaning it first so it sticks better. So what we have here is just a regular cleaning kit. And just pop that open. Just a couple of squirts. Oh. Here we go. And that should be enough. Just give your bottoms a quick clean. You want to make sure they're completely dry as well before you put the sole protectors on. Now, if you find that there's tougher dirt, you can always upgrade to a sole brush. Now it's much stiffer, you get your rocks out. That a good wipe. Now, if your shoes are brand new, I'd just skip ahead to the part where we're done cleaning the sole. For me, that looks good enough. What I would do is I'll pop open the package and you'll find 2 sole protectors, some alcohol wipes, and what we should get started with is these. You want to take an alcohol wipe and just go through the bottom and make sure there's nothing left on the surface, just so that it sticks really, really well. Last thing you want is for like a little bit of it to just be flipping out after you've done it. So make sure you get that alcohol wipe and you get any bit of dirt left or any bit of solution or soap that you didn't clean off. When you've got all that, I would recommend tracing it out. So on the sole protector, you have the grippy side and the paper side. Put the shoe down on the paper side, like so, and trace it out. So I recommend using a pencil. If you use a pen, be extra careful, but I really wouldn't use a pen because in case you mark your shoes while you're doing it. Just rest the pencil sort of vertical up against the edge of the shoe and just run it along. So you just want to run it on the outside of the shoe. If you have extra on the outside, that's okay because you can always cut it off later. But if you go in too far, you're going to have sole protectors that just kind of too small and they won't protect the entire base. So if anything, I just go a little bit extra and you can always cut it back later. And always be wary at the front. Always needs a bit more as it folds up. So yeah, so once you've traced it out like so, I'd take a pair of scissors to it and get going. So you just cut along the outside of that line. After you've done this a few times, you can pretty much cut it exactly to size and then you won't have to do any trimming later. Or if you're pretty confident, you can always just try to trim it exactly to size. So save you doing it again. So there we have it. That's that. And that's your excess. So what we have here is a heat gun. You don't need a heat gun. You can actually use just a hairdryer you have at home. A hairdryer you have at home. On a hairdryer, I would just go to the highest setting. But on a heat gun, you have to be extra careful because at its highest setting, you can set stuff on fire. So on a heat gun, I'd just naturally start with the minimum setting, the lowest amount of heat possible, and then work your way up. because too much heat can cause your shoe to separate, or in this case, actually, you can actually melt the shoe. So yeah, so I'd have one of these handy, but to be safe, just use a hairdryer in the highest setting and you should be good. So what I do first is just dry the sole off, make sure there's nothing on it. And let's peel the backing off this. Why know that? I think your light hates me, Christian, turned off. Now don't be worried if you misplace it, you can move it around, but don't do it too often because the adhesive will sort of muck around. But once you've centered it like so, I'd work in sections. So I might start from the middle and work to the back, and start from the middle and work to the top. So, like I said, start with a fairly low heat setting and then work your way up. So this is really, what you want to do is press it in so it contacts really, really well. And you can see that. So what the heat is doing is just making it more easy to work with, softer, and sort of, if there's any grooves in your shoes, you can sort of try and get it in there. But sometimes you don't really have to, like these grooves are a bit deep, and trying to push that in is actually going to make it worse, make the material a lot worse and way too thin. So it's actually much easier to just sort of heat it up and then fold that material over. If it does get a bit warm, you can just use a towel, and that's going to help you a lot as well. So as you can see, that bottom bit is stuck on way better than the top bit, and you can just see the amount of contact it has on the bottom compared to the area on top. So I'd say this is pretty stuck on pretty well. So I'm going to start working on the top half now. As you can see, some of the holes are actually filling really nicely. So I'm actually able to mold it into the holes and to get really, really good grip from it. So the more surface area it has to your shoe, the more likely it's going to hold on for much longer. So yeah, just try to get it in where you can, but you don't really have to get into all the cracks, because the result of that might actually be your material stretched too thin. And then yeah, I'm pretty happy with this result, but what I'm going to do now is just trim off all the excess right around. Again, I wouldn't recommend using anything like an X-Acto blade, because if one wrong move and you're gonna end up trimming the shoe that you're trying to protect. So I'd just be extra careful with this. It's pretty hard doing this with the camera. I'm trying to show you guys as much as I can, but it's weird angles. You can always, and with this, you can always leave a little bit because it's going to fold over really nicely, but you don't want to leave too much, otherwise it's just going to fold halfway up your midsole. So all right, so I'm pretty happy with that final result. You can see there's still some excess on the side. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna heat that up and fold that over the edges so it looks nice and flush. Again with this, what I'd do is I'd sort of work in a certain section. So make that soft, fold it over, and then go to the next area. If you try to heat up the whole shoe, it's gonna make the whole material soft, that's great. But by the time you work halfway around it, that's gonna harden up again. So that's all done. And I'm not sure if you can see this from there, but that's just flush along the edges now. It's wrapped up. You can sort of see it creep up if you look really closely, but once you put it on feet, you won't be able to tell. And yeah, that should hold really well. The material is flexible, it stretches with the shoe when you walk. And if you've done this right, it should stick on for quite a while. Now the best part is, it is very sticky, but if you do want to remove it, there shouldn't be a problem. It should peel right off, like so. And it doesn't leave any residue. If it does, try not to leave it on for like crazy long and forget about this pair, because yeah, it can get a little bit sticky, but we do have fixes for that. If you do have any residue, you can always just drop us a message and we can teach you how to get rid of that. But otherwise, yeah, just keep them, it just keeps them extra clean. So yeah, cop yours now.